Today it's up to reassembling the valve body, which will complete my rebuild, so stick around. Hello everybody, yes, I'm still working on my S-Type project, even though I've written onto the Seville appropriate for today's 118th anniversary of the foundation of the Cadillac Automobile Company. Speaking of anniversaries, I've started my project around 1 year ago, so make sure to join my live stream next Sunday. That's how I left the two halves of the valve body last week. In between, the Sonex SIP kit was delivered and I was able to pick up a replacement separator plate at CF Austria in Vienna. So I can now start with the rebuild, but before the valve body and the valves will have to be cleaned, and not to upset my girlfriend, I will have to change my clothes. I will start with removing the rubber residues coming from the separator plate with my fingernails. Now I'm gonna flush the internals with brake cleaner. Same with the lower valve body. Everything is cleaned up again so that I can now start with the reassembly using the Sonex replacement parts. The essential components of this kit are modified so-called end plugs with an O-ring in the middle that shall provide a better sealing of the valve body towards the outside, especially if the bores are already worn. And since my unit has run around 150,000 miles, I thought it may be a good idea to install this. The instructions tell me to start with the upper valve body and with the number 4 valve on this side. It's this one, consisting of a big spring, a large valve, and such a sleeve. And this sleeve comes new with the overhaul kit in bag number 1. No O-ring here, this seems like a one-to-one replacement part. I'm now gonna re-lubricate the spring as well as the valve with new transmission fluid and put this back inside. Together with the new end plug and the retainer. Yes, that's centered in the middle. So the first valve is reinstalled. Up to bag number 2. This contains replacement parts for the last valve here on this side. That's a fancy one, consisting of a spring, a piston, such a sleeve, another piston inside this sleeve, and the end plug. And bag number 2 of the Sonex kit contains a metal sleeve with the piston inside. But there's another bag I have to open, and this is bag number 4, because this contains the modified end plug. fit into this position, correct. And this end plug is equipped with an O-ring. On this position, of course, the spring belongs to the inside, followed by the valve in this direction. Then the sleeve with another piston in the middle, which hopefully will fit inside here. Yes. And finally the replacement end plug. That first has to be equipped with the O-ring. Again, this doesn't want to fit inside. You know, I had problems last time to get the end plugs out. Yes, that worked out. It's a little too far inside. I'll try to pull it out again. And now this end plug has to be secured with the little retainer. And there it is, up to bag number 3. This contains replacement inner end plugs. Nevertheless, I start with this position here, since there the end plug has to be changed only. It's also one of the bigger ones out of bag number 4. And at this position the plug seems to fit. The spring belongs inside first, followed by this sleeve. And the plug. It doesn't want to fit in there too easy because the O-ring is a little bit bigger. So I try to press this inside a little bit. Okay, it's inside halfway now. Yes, that's it. The battery was flat, but you didn't miss anything. I just put the retainer back inside. So let's continue with the next position here. I'm checking the chart. And these parts are belonging here. One valve on the inside, followed by a spring, and this inner plug, which will be replaced with one equipped with 2 O-rings. Let's apply the O-rings first. This plug has one end without a hole and another end with a hole. And the instructions tell me that the end plug has to be positioned with the hole facing outwards. So let's start with the piston or valve, followed by the spring and this internal end plug. The retainer, by the way, has to be positioned here right in the middle. Okay, it's inside, but not as far as it has to be. a little bit of the O-ring shaved off, but what can I do? Lots of sharp edges inside there. So now the middle of this end plug is positioned exactly underneath the retainer. And this is now fully seated. No, it's not. Oh god, actually I put the retainer in the wrong place. Here it belongs. Up to the next one, the number 3 on this side. So first the valve with the big end towards the inside, followed by the spring and the internal end plug with the hole facing outwards. Okay, that was easy. These internal end plugs have to be positioned exactly that way, that the middle of the end plug sits here where the retainer belongs. And no rubber shaving this time. I think I was simply lucky. So next position, this is number 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I recognized why these replacement internal end plugs have a hole on one side. It allows to screw a bolt inside here and to pull this plug out one time, which wouldn't be possible otherwise because of the O-rings it's equipped with. And again it's fully seated, and these two positions to get this retainer over the valve, I have to back off, push the retainer a little bit more down and then push against the retainer to get it into the slot underneath. Yes, and actually this side is completed. Let's continue on this side. So let's see what belongs here in the sense of valves and springs. Last time I called all these parts pistons, which is not wrong, but of course the ones that can float are valves in the functional sense, and the outer ones are the plugs, because they only seal the circuit. I think they have been a little bit lazy at Sonex, because they use the same small O-rings for the small end plugs as well as the internal end plugs, even though the internal end plugs are a little bit smaller. So valve on the inside, followed by the spring, and this little end plug, secured by the wire style retainer. Voila! As I mentioned last time already, the small end belongs to the inside, the big end to the outside. Now up to the upper valve body. Luckily I only have to replace 5 valves here, and surprise surprise, there are 5 end plugs left in the Sonnax kit. Let's start with the 3 ones on this side. There's a large one, or a large hole, requiring a big end plug. I hope this will fit inside. And what about the pistons or valves in this position? That's the upper one. Okay. It's this one, spring inside, big valve, and the end plug that has to be replaced. Let's start with assembling the end plug. Okay, the spring belongs to the inside, followed by the valve and the end plug. Oh no! And everything's safe in place. Of course, a little bit too far inside. There it belongs. So, continuing with the middle position here. That's what I took out last time. And exactly that's how it belongs back inside. Again, the end plug has to be replaced with a small replacement one. Again, I have to try to force on this too small O-ring. As mentioned, on this position, first the piston, then the spring, and finally the small end plug. It's a small one, so it should go in by hand. And actually it does. I'm not happy that again the O-ring is shaving off a little bit here. So finally the last one on this side. And yes, that's how the parts go in there. Valve, spring, and the end plug. It's replaced by the last small end plug I have here in my Sonnax zip kit. As you can see, the zip kit comes with far more O-rings than end plugs, so in theory I could go back and take out the plugs with the damaged O-rings and replace the O-rings with new ones, but come on, there haven't been O-rings inside at all before. So the valve goes in first, followed by the spring, and the end plug. Perfect. Two more left on the other side. I start with the upper one. The two valves inside here are not much different from each other, but that's the position where the shorter one belongs. Yes, and that's exactly how I positioned it here also on my table. This is the one with the red spring on it, and the big end plug that will be replaced by the Sonnax version. The spring belongs inside first, followed by the valve and the end plug. I will try to press this in from this direction, from this side, while the retainer has to come from the other side. Again, this requires my rubber hammer. Okay, a little bit too far inside again. And again some rubber shavings that I didn't want to see. Especially I don't want to get these inside the fluid circuit. Let's insert the retainer. And finally, yeah, and there it belongs. Now the last one. Yeah, only one remaining. The spring belongs to the inside, followed by the big valve. I give it a good lubrication with new trans fluid. Okay. Let's drop this inside here. Yes, looks good. And now the final end plug. I hope this won't pop out again now. And it's in perfect position. Now let's start to put all the small parts back where they belong inside the upper valve body. I'm starting with the two sombrero heads that are actually loop pressure limit valves. They belong here. And there. Followed by a small filter. According to different charts I found in the net, normally there are two of those in the 6HP26 valve bodies. Another one here in this area, but not in mine. Now I'm gonna reposition the 8 check balls. The first one here, number 2, number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and number 8. Obviously most of the units come with a 9th check ball. That has to be somewhere here, but not in my case. Yeah, and finally I had to put back the dampeners. Those are in a very good condition. The rubber inserts are not deformed at all, but the Sonex overhaul kit comes with modified parts that I equipped with springs instead of these rubber inserts. I think this may extend the lifespan, and so of course I will replace the OE ones with those. Number 1. And the last one, number 6. After having convinced myself that separator plate number 051 is identical to my old one with code 036, this now can be positioned onto the upper valve body. The position is self-explaining. If someone disagrees, the B side faces towards the lower valve body, the A side towards the upper valve body. And the most important thing, I have to make sure that the two sombrero heads stick through their holes. One does already, and the second also. Now I'm putting the lower valve body on top. To properly align the two halves of the valve body and the separator plate, I would need the two alignment pins mounted to the transmission control unit, but as soon as this is put back, I wouldn't be able to attach the solenoids, so I just help myself now and screw these parts together in a loose way with a few bolts. Now it's up to replacing the solenoids, the most expensive part of this overhaul, by the way. Three yellow ones, three blue ones, and one in black. Not to mess anything up, I made a screenshot, in the best sense of the word, of my previous video. The sequence is yellow, blue, yellow, blue, blue, black and yellow, and this position is empty. This would be the parking solenoid in the E-shift versions. So I start with the yellow one. The sealing ring, new sealing rings are already applied, so I don't have to use those which came with the Sonnax kit. Now a blue one, another yellow, two blue ones in a row, the black one, and one more yellow. In the next step I have to reattach the retainer plate here. 27 Torx as always, and torque spec is 6 Newton meters. So, and now let's put back the transmission control unit. Again, I try not to touch any of the contacts. This part belongs onto this side. And here is one alignment pin, here the other one. The alignment pins are in place now. Yes. I will now put the remaining Torx 27 bolts back in. 6 of those are longer and also hold the transmission control unit in place. Actually, I'm looking onto a chart in this moment, but this marks the wrong position, so you can't rely on anything. So the remaining 20 bolts are all short ones. Torque spec is 8 Newton meters for all of those. At the very end I made a mistake, of course. This sensor here has to grab the shift valve. I will try to correct this by just opening up a few of the bolts. Yes, and here it passes by. Perfect. Finally, the valve body is fully rebuilt. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up or even subscribe to my channel. Also make sure not to miss my live stream next Sunday. See you back then. Goodbye.